Hi everyone, welcome back to the next part of Damon Running's story, Breach of Promise, which is from his set of short stories called On Broadway. And if you remember, the three lads that were asked to do a job for Judge Goldfarber are wondering where he is, and here's the reason why they want to find him. It turns out, Harry the horse says, that the job is not for Judge Goldfarber personally, but for a client of his. Who is this client but Mr. Jabez Tuesday, the rich millionaire who owns the Tuesday string of one-armed joints where many citizens go for food and wait on themselves. Judge Goldfarber comes to see us in Brooklyn in person and sends me to see Mr. Jabez Tuesday with a letter of introduction. So Mr. Jabez Tuesday can explain what he wishes me to do, because Judge Goldfarber is too smart a guy to be explaining such matters by himself. In fact, for all I know, maybe Judge Goldfarber is not aware of what Mr. Jabez Tuesday wishes me to do. Although I am willing to lay a little 6 to 5 that Judge Goldfarber does not think Mr. Jabez Tuesday wishes to hire me as a cashier in any of his one-armed joints. Anyway, I go to see Mr. Tuesday at a Fifth Avenue hotel where he makes his home, and where he has a very swell layout of rooms, and I'm by no means impressed with Mr. Tuesday, as he hams and haws quite a bit before he tells me the nature of the employment he has in mind for me. He's a little guy, somewhat dried out, with a bald head and a small mouser on his upper lip, and wears specs and seems somewhat nervous. Well, it takes him some time to get down to cases and tell me what is eating him and what he wishes to do. And then it all sounds very simple indeed, and in fact it sounds so simple that I think Mr. Jabez Tuesday is a little daffy when he tells me he will give me 10 G's for the job. What Mr. Tuesday wishes me to do is to get some letters that he personally writes to a doll by the name of Miss Amelia Bodkin, who lives in a house just outside Tarrytown, because it seems that Mr. Tuesday makes certain cracks in these letters that he is now sorry for, such as speaking of love and marriage and one thing and another to Miss Amelia Bodkin. And he is afraid she is going to sue him for breach of promise. Such an idea to be very embarrassing to me, Mr. Jabez Tuesday says, as I'm about to marry a party who is a member of one of the most higher-toned families in this country. It is true. Mr. Tuesday says that the Scarwater family does not have as much money now as formerly, but there is no doubt about it being very, very high-toned, and my fiancée, Miss Valerie Scarwater, is one of the high-tonedest of them all. In fact, he says, she is so high-toned that the chances are she will be very huffy about anybody suing me for breach of promise and cancel everything. Well, I asked Mr. Tuesday what a breach of promise is, and he explains to me that it is when somebody promises to do something and fails to do this something. Although, of course, we have a very different name for a proposition of this nature in Brooklyn and deal with it accordingly. This is a very easy job for a person of your standing, Mr. Tuesday says. Miss Amelia Bodkin lives all alone in her house on the other side of Tarrytown, except for a couple of servants, and they are old and harmless. Now, the idea is, he says, you are not to go to her house as if you are looking for the letters, but if you are after something else, such as a silverware, which is quite antique and very valuable. She keeps the letters in a big inlaid box in her room, Mr. Tuesday says. And if you just pick up this box and carry it away along with the silverware, no one will ever suspect that you are after the letters, but that you take the box thinking it contains valuables. You bring the letters to me, and you get your 10 G's, Mr. Tuesday says. And, he says, you can keep the silverware too, but be sure you get a Paul Revere teapot with the silverware, he says. It's worth plenty. Well, I says to Mr. Tuesday, every guy knows his own business best, and I do not wish to knock myself out of a nice soft job, but I say, it seems to me the simplest way of carrying out this transaction is to buy the letters off this doll and be done with it. Personally, I say. I do not believe there is a doll in the world who is not willing to sell a whole post office full of letters of 10 G's, especially in these times, and throw it in a set of Shakespeare with him. No, no, Mr. Tuesday says. Such a course will not do with Miss Amelia Bodkin at all. You see, he says, Miss Bodkin and I are very, very friendly for a matter of maybe 15 or 16 years. In fact, we are very friendly indeed. And she does not have any idea at this time that I wish to break off this friendship with her. Now, he says, if I try to buy the letters from her, she may become suspicious. The idea, Mr. Tuesday says, is for me to get the letters first, and then explain to her about breaking off the friendship and make a suitable arrangements with her afterwards. Do not get Miss Amelia Bodkin wrong, Mr. Tuesday says. She is an excellent person, but, he says, you know the saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And maybe Miss Amelia Bodkin may figure that I am scorning her, for she finds out I am going to marry Miss Valeria Scarwater, and furthermore, he says, if she still has the letters, she may fall into the hands of an unscrupulous lawyers and demand a very large sum indeed. But, Mr. Tuesday says, this does not worry me half as much as the idea that Miss Valerie Scarwater may learn about the letters and get a wrong impression of my friendship with Miss Amelia Bodkin. Well, I round up Spanish John and little Isadore the next afternoon, and I find little Isadore playing club with a guy by the name of Educated Edmund, who is calling Educated Edmund because he once got to Erasmus High School and is considered a very fine scholar indeed. So we invite Educated Edmund to go along with us. The idea is I know Educated Edmund makes a fair living playing club, and little Isadore and I figure out as long as I am depriving Educated Edmund of a living for a while, it is only courteous to toss something else his way. Furthermore, I figure out as long as the letters are involved in this proposition, it may be a good thing to have Educated Edmund handy in case any reading becomes necessary, because Spanish John and little Isadore do not read at all, and I only read very large print. Well, let's see what happens if these trio, well, quad now, isn't it, go and successfully get these letters. See you soon. Bye now. God bless.